Mercedes. How are you?
Hi, Rachel. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you. So I talked to you guys back in November of last year, and now a year later, people are going to get to see Bone Lake. What for you is the most exciting part about having, had this movie premiere at film festivals and going through this process, and now being at the point where a wider audience is going to experience what you've created?
Totally. I think the most special thing for me is the fact that this is a movie that's meant to be seen in theaters. And
Mhm.
so the reactions we've gotten in audiences is people are gasping and laughing and, clutching their pearls. And so to be able to go see that across the US in different theaters is so exciting.
When we talked a little bit before, but about like it being in one location for the most part. But I do love that there's all these different rooms that you get to play with. Did you have a favorite room that you got to kind of like mess around in when you guys were in this house and like figuring all this stuff out?
Easy. That's definitely the sex room. There's, we just had so much fun of if you were in this rental house, what is the most wild thing you could walk into and not know was in there? And so just being able to play around with that and have fun with that. And there's even a moment where the character Will picks up a dildo and sniffs it. And that was very much so improv and not written in the script. And so being able to just have fun with that, I went, this is our movie.
When I do love that there's also little like Easter eggs. Like I picked it up the second time when I just rewatched it where I was like, oh, well, there was a thing in the suitcase that if he was like paying attention, it's the same brand, look, everything of something that happens later on. As a director, what is it like when you're figuring out those little like nods to things that'll come into fruition like later in the film?
Yeah, totally. Without giving
Yeah,
any plot
kind of,
twists, because we have
kind
lots of plot twists. Mum is the word,
of.
but it's so fun because us knowing what we're building to and going through, I wanted to make sure that our house and our location, everything that you could go back and watch the movie a second time and have a different experience. And so if people go through and they look at some of the art on the walls or books on the bookshelf or just little things like that, or that person has a weapon stored there in their house. I wonder if that will come into play later. Those are things that we very much so thought out.
And it is just such a fun movie to kind of unpack because it is the new trend of like, hey, don't go to Airbnbs. Almost like we like that's the new thing that we love to use for horror, but it is so right for it. For you, what was it about going into the idea of like renting a house and not knowing like who you're renting it from or with or any of that that was so exciting when you were making this?
Yeah, I think it's something that it's a very human fear. And so being able to start people off on this basis of anyone would feel uncomfortable in this situation. But
Mhm.
even though we've kind of seen that setup in a couple of different horror movies, we take it in a completely different direction. And so I wanted to set people up with something less familiar and then get erotic and ridiculous and bloody with it.
Yeah. When you do get bloody in this film, and without spoiling anything, was there like, because obviously you're using a house, were there things that you were like, okay, well, we're in a house. We got to use this. We got to use this because it's at our disposal?
Yes. So there's one of my favorite shots in the movie is we're up in the top and a big chase is happening and she walks
Mhm.
down this spiral staircase and the camera comes down with her. And so when I saw the location, I thought we need to move our camera around this house in a way where when the chase happens, we really pay it off. Or later on in the movie, we kind of do some Evil Dead 2 shots where they're running and we
Mhm.
run through the house with them. And I thought, how is this house circular for when people are chasing each other when they don't have good intentions? There's the most fun version of that.
Yeah, I do love that this is like the weirdest house look wise. And I think you guys were talking about how like you rented it from an older lady and we're like,
Yes.
don't worry about what we're filming. When you are like location scouting for things like that and you have to find like something that fits your strange parameters, what for you is like the like what was like the weirdest part about that process of like going and finding what fits for this movie and having to be like, yeah, well, we want them to run around a lot and it's kind of like circular's best, but I have to find a house that fits that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I we looked at a lot of different house locations. There's a version of this movie that's the creepy cabin in the woods, and there's a version that's a very modern one. And I wanted something that was almost European feeling of we're going and exploring, and there's these hidden rooms. But it's also just always a fun thing of when people go, so what kind of movie are you making in my house? And we're like, well, There's gonna be sex scenes. There's gonna be, butts out in the open. So people just have to be down for us to be doing that with their house.
They're like, hey guys, sorry, I'm gonna do some weird things in your house.
Yeah.
But it is also like so beautiful because you have a lake, there's a pool, there's like all these other things. When you find that location, does that change some of the ideas you had within
Yes.
the script and like what you wanted to do with the film?
Yeah, definitely. So whenever I'm someone who I shot list a ton, so I come in with a very extreme plan, but I always want to organically do what the environment's giving me. And so when we found this house, there was parts that connected to other parts, and so I would change my shot list for that.
When I wanted to ask too, it is at its core a horror movie, but it almost teeters into horror comedy at times, like with like how these people are interacting with each other. Is it fun to get to play a little with the genres while you're doing something like this when it isn't just a straightforward horror or slasher film?
Yeah, exactly. I love all types of horror movies, but I think specifically with the concept of Bone Lake, the bad version of this film would be something that takes itself too seriously. Like, come on, the title is Boner Lake, as people have been calling it. And so I definitely wanted to have fun with it because this movie is meant to be a fun time. And even having, we kind of start out like this erotic thriller and we have this slow burn into the horror of it. And so I wanted to make something where we care about these characters when they die. We actually understand their relationship dynamics. And for me, that's just way more fulfilling. But then we also have to pay it off in the end because as an avid horror moviegoer, too, I hate it when I've been waiting for so long for the horror to happen. And I go, all right. And we went, nope, all right. We have to do balls to the wall. We need to go for it.
When for our last quick question, I just want to ask, it is so funny when it does get to have that kind of like twist to the balls to the wall. And you mentioned that you have Evil Dead references because I could tell with like the camera tilts and all of this kind of stuff. What for you are you the most excited for people to pick up on that you put into this film, like either reference wise or just in general?
Yeah, I mean, I think already what's been so exciting for me is people just calling out the shot design and just things that we brought into it. For example, we have a part where we contrast the four people and the couples, and we do a Zolly shot into each of them, which is such an extreme way to do that. But just hearing people react to that and appreciate the artfulness of our filmmaking has been really special for me.
Well, I can't wait for everyone else to get to finally experience Bone Lake. And so thank you so much for talking with me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Of course, have a great one. Hi guys,
Bye.
how are
Hi,
you?
Rachel.
Hi,
Hi,
Rachel.
Rachel.
How are you?
Hello. Doing well. So I talked to three of you guys back in November of last year about this movie. So it is very nice to talk now when it's going to go out for a wider audience. So I wanted to ask you guys, what is the most exciting part about having, done press for this movie for almost an entire year and now get to have more people get to actually see it?
Yeah, it's cool. It's in like everyone's local cinemas, so that feels like anyone who wants to see it can go and see it. So that's great.
And we got to
That's
hang
exciting.
a little bit.
Yeah.
It's great.
You get to wear fun outfits. That's an exciting thing. You get to
fine,
get your
yeah.
hair and makeup done. But it's nice. It's always really nice when something you do gets seen because it's so often you work really hard on this thing and then it just like, disappears into the ether. So it's like so exciting.
Yeah, I mean, we did this, 2.5 years ago? So now it belongs to the world, and we get to celebrate it.
Yeah.
Congratulations to the world.
Yeah. And
Congrats.
the horror
You're
community,
welcome.
the horror community's gotten behind it in such a cool way, and like that's been really cool to see. That like people who love these kind of movies are really getting behind it, and that's that feels good.
Yeah. Well, and I wanted to ask you all, because I asked Mercedes this question and I thought it was fun. I like that it is the one house, but it has so many different rooms that you guys get to kind of play around in throughout the film. Was there a room that you guys got to mess around in that you were like, this is the most fun room to kind of be in when you were filming it?
Well,
Do we all have the same
yeah.
answer?
Yes.
You have 4 kids literally here, so when we got to the
The dungeon.
the sex room, it's
The
just like,
dungeon.
Yeah.
it's just like
I loved it. There was a blow up. Did we use the blow up doll in there, or was that
No.
just on set somewhere?
It was just on
set.
set.
It was
I
in the,
loved her.
But Alex was touching all the dildos
Yeah.
before the scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were having
Yeah.
Some
I-
went
I was in-
missing.
I
Some
was-
dildos went missing that day.
They did.
I was
And
very,
Alex has been very tight-lipped since.
Yeah, I'm walking with a slight limp.
Yeah, he is.
Oh my goodness.
Get it, girl.
Oh my gosh. Well, and also I noticed this time around that there are little like it's weird to call them Easter eggs, but there's little nods that like obviously Diego misses, like just fully just does not see in one scene, and then later when it comes back, I'm like, you didn't put two and two together there. But I'm talking about the dildo in their suitcase.
Oh,
That, like,
yeah.
it's
Yeah.
very clearly there, and then it's the same brand that is in the later scene, and he's just like
That's a fair point.
glossing over.
That's yes. Well, listen, there are a lot of red flags that Diego doesn't see, including
Yeah.
That's true.
the proposal, which is completely absurd. Like,
Crazy.
why would he stay?
Crazy.
So for me, the biggest challenge of this film was this, to justify this character, because I would have
Yeah.
just gone.
I know.
But
Too into his writing. He's like, I gotta figure out my writing sample to show this man.
thank you, you got it. That's exactly it. He had second interests, you know. He
Ambition,
really
it'll
needed
kill
that.
ya.
He was ambitious. He wanted, even though he was a mediocre writer.
But I wanted to ask all of you, like, when you guys see the movie completed and you get to see all those little Easter eggs or hints to what's gonna kind of happen, is it fun for you guys to like see audience reactions to like what those lead to after the fact?
Oh
Yeah.
yes.
It's been fun to see reactions to things that maybe we wouldn't have thought would get reactions.
True.
Like what?
Well, I'm not gonna spoil
Don't
it.
spoil it.
You have to watch.
I'm like, oh.
No, but it's true. We went to Fantastic Fest, and the film opened there, and you know, it's an audience of horror film fans, and they were like going wild in the theater.
Oh, yeah.
Remember, it was just so much fun to watch with an audience. It's a film that you have to watch with an audience. It's an
Yeah.
experience.
Yes.
It's a collective experience.
Take your friends.
I 100% agree. And I also love Mercedes said she had a lot of like Evil Dead 2 references or like how things were shot. Like she was like pulling from that. Do you guys, when you're on set and there's some reference that is being thrown at you for this film, are you the kind of actors who lean into those references, or do you kind of just go, you know what, I'm gonna trust whatever my director's vision is for this?
I mean, it's interesting because we all have different, like, purposes in the film. Like, I don't think I could lean into the camp as much because Sage's purpose is to be, like, a grounding-ish, like the straight man.
Yeah.
So that you guys can be wild and amazing and crazy, you know?
Yeah.
And so I think yes and no. Like, you take them in, but you also have to really consider what your role is in the structure of this universe.
And sometimes, like a shot and the way that the shot is set up can tell you whether this scene is a little bit more ridiculous or a little bit more like over the top than some of the other scenes. So it's like you give in to that, I guess. You know?
And there's also something that we discover while doing it sometimes. You know, there are a lot of scenes that we found a lot of humor in it that not necessarily was on
Yeah.
the page,
Yeah.
you know, when we read. So, yeah, I think it's a little bit about, you know, a little bit of everything. You get references, but at the same time, you put them aside and you think about what's your function in that structure, in that scene.
And for last question, I want to ask all of you guys, just because I love that we do these weird Airbnb movies where there's someone else in the house and those people are like, yeah, that's fine. Not me. I don't care how
Yeah.
pretty the house is.
No.
But what for you guys would be the like, okay, fine, I'm gonna stay in this house with people that I do not know? What would be like the finally, yes, you'll do it? Like, what's that limit for you all?
You couldn't pay me. I if I saw a car, I'd turn around.
Hold on. You
that's
could
just me.
pay me.
Yeah.
How much money are we talking? You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like,
Yeah, it's like who
I'm easily bought.
is there a person that you would be willing to share an Airbnb with?
There's
if you
a
both
couple
double
people
booked
I
it?
would share an Airbnb with.
I mean, they look so cute
Are
in the
they
beginning.
hotties? You know what I mean? Like, who are we talking about?
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah, if they are hotties, that changes the game. You could be like,
it's
yeah, well,
Javier Bardem and Penelope Cruz.
Okay, maybe.
But of
Yeah.
course,
Maybe questionable.
I'm sat and I'm staying.
If it Alex Rowe and Andrew Nachita.
I mean,
Come
Look at-
on.
I mean,
we
come
stayed.
on.
That's
we
it.
stayed. There's your answer.
That's the reason.
The worst couple to share. Never share an
I thought we were
Airbnb
pretty great.
with us. We're
Ouch.
manipulative. We're awful.
We're
Alright.
fun.
They are.
We're
yeah.
fun.
We just
Or
like
fun.
messing with other couples. You know,
Yep.
that's just how we
That's
roll.
just, that's just the fun of it all. Well, thank you guys for talking to me. I can't wait for everyone else to get to see Bone Lake, and I can't believe more people are gonna finally get to experience
Yeah.
this movie. I love it a lot.
Yay!
Thank you.
Thanks for being an
Yeah.
OG, a Bone Lake OG.
Bone Lake OG. Well, thank you. Have a good one.